First of all, thank you so much, Karthik, for joining us. We have a lot of pressure to keep people awake after lunch. So, but you're going to talk about money, so I'm sure everybody's going to be engaged. Uh, I know it's a busy day for you, and we have a hard stop with the timing. So I'll just directly jump into the questions. It's a big picture question. You've been in the industry for long, and revenue has always been a focal point for clients, for agencies. But the focus has increased, I guess. So, how do you see that conversation evolving, and has that impacted media agency and brand relationships?
Good afternoon, everyone. And firstly, thank you for calling me. And I know post-lunch sessions are difficult, so I'll try to hopefully keep all of you awake. Excellent question. In the last about decade or so, uh, I'll first talk the big picture, which is the changing marketing landscape itself. Um, I've been now in the industry for almost now 30 years.
Yes.
And this is what I've done. I have not done any other role as in being in media. So the evolution is quite dramatic. Uh, and I'm going to talk both from the agency side, client side, and bit of even from the media owner side.
Yes.
Uh, in the 1990s, when India got liberalized, the penetration of many of the basic product itself was low, barring a few products, and therefore the role of marketing was to ensure some distribution, good advertising, and very few media choices. As a media planner in 1992-93, I had a decision was three newspapers, two, three channels.
Yeah.
Cut to
Absolutely.
2025, the marketing itself is complex. Loyalty levels of brands, consumers' loyalty towards brands are abysmally low. Uh, and one qualifier and disclaimer I will always like to give is, uh, while we try to generalize, there will always be some exceptions.
Absolutely.
So somebody here, I'm sure, Apple will have a high loyalty, but many other categories, people just keep shifting loyalty. So that's one. The definition of distribution has changed from a physical distribution to D2C. Uh, and today, a marketer's role or CMO or a marketing head role is far more complex. They are dealing with, on an average, at least five agencies: creative agency, media agency, social agency, digital agency, PR agency, minimum five. In some cases, it can be as high as 10 or 12. If you see from the agency side, the complexity is even more, right? We have to constantly learn new ways of advertising and reaching the consumer, particularly on what has happened on digital with so many walled gardens. So each walled garden has their own ways of working, and upskilling becomes important. And the sell side was 20 years, 25 years far easier. You met people, business was done, quote unquote, on relationships.
Right. Right.
Uh, but while the relationships continue, there is no guarantee that it will translate into business.
Absolutely.
The core issue behind all this is very simple. The stakeholders, the shareholders of whichever company, whether you're a new company or a legacy brand, suppose you are a 50, 70-year-old brand or a 3-year-old brand, the waiting period to show results is over. So we used to, when we were younger, we used to read books and say, brand building is long term and all. While that conceptually is there, the shareholders are not going to give us years. It is now come down to quarters. If you will be lucky if you are getting 2 quarters or 3 quarters. Just before coming here in the morning, I was just doing a check. Uh, Nifty 50, the top 50 best companies in India, are a good reflection, and a lot of you here must be holding Nifty 50 as a reflection on what the society is. In the last 5 years, 10 CEOs have changed in the Nifty 50, which is roughly 20% of the CEO,
Right.
which essentially means it's like not even like the 5-year government that we all vote for. So that is also changing because stakeholders are not willing to say, hey, I put $1, I'm willing to wait for 20 years.
Yes.
I'll
Absolutely.
see the result in forget 20 years, maybe a decade. It's a quarter. So that is where the pressure comes from, and therefore, how do you demonstrate revenues for the company, that if you're a CEO of a company, and linked to that is the media owner side, what kind of advertising money they can get, and agencies, we are part of this ecosystem. Only when there is advertising is there hopefully some revenues for the agency. So it's becoming in a bit complicated, and therefore understand there are no easy solve. I'm not a believer that I know everything. I'm going to give some 3 mantras and this is them. No, there are no 3 mantras. So we have to work much more harder. And from the lens of agency that we are representing, what I do, enormous amount of my time goes dealing now. When I was in my much younger days, it used to be at best the CMO or a category head.
Yes.
Now I end up spending a lot of time with CEOs, in some cases board members, in some cases the CFO. So the client definition itself has changed. And therefore we have to appreciate the pressure that they are going through, and find mechanisms how we can adapt.
Right. The beauty of talking to somebody who's passionate about their job is they answer all your questions in one go. But I will still go ahead and ask you the questions I had in mind. So, you mentioned a lot of things like the time given to show results, etc., have changed. So, and I'm sure the pitching process also has evolved with this, with the changing conversations. So, if you have to point out some bullet points, in the pitch process, these are the things that have seen, a lot of change from what it was maybe 5 years ago. So, what would those be?
A very interesting question. So the global trend, not only the local pitches, but there's a lot of trend which are kind of converging.
Right.
The first one, I spoke of the complexity which the CMOs got to do,
Yes.
5 agencies minimum, maybe 10, 12. They are now expecting pitching agencies to give like a one solution. Rather than going to 10 different windows, 10 different companies, can one agency preferably or one partner do it? Because that reduces friction, reduces complexity. Second thing is agencies should move away from talking about vanity metrics,
Absolutely.
and really talk about conversations around profitability or revenue at the least, sales or revenue, market share growth, and that's a big shift because many of us have taken a long time to evolve to that. It's not an easy thing. It's easy to sit here and say that, and even you are almost playing like a role like a financial analyst. For example, I end up reading a lot more annual reports. And why should a media agency do? Two reasons. A to S ratio is there, free cash flow is there. There are multiple other things which are hidden in the annual report, which you will never be able to do.
Right.
We end up spending time with financial analysts because they know what is really is happening in the category or the company. So the nature of the business, and it is really, really about impacting business.
Right.
And not being in a distant way saying, Acha, some advertising has happened and something will happen. No. Every line item, you need to be able to, the best analogy I can give is, you want to go to a doctor, where the doctor should be able to tell you, hey, this is your problem and take this medicine. We put even our life at risk with the doctor. But we put it because of the high skill of the doctor. That level of high skill is what is expected now out of agencies and partners.
Right.
So if I do a PR activity, what will be the impact on my business? If I were to do an activation, what will be the impact on whatever product you are selling, whether it is a car, whether it's a toothpaste, whichever category, can you tell me what is the interaction? No. I have got a lot of reach. I got a lot of engagement, and I've got a lot of stickiness. Is good, but not sufficient.
Right. Right.
So this ability to connect the input to impacting the business is becoming primary. Agencies which are able to do that win, others go by the way.
Right. And another very interesting thing you mentioned in your first answer, that pitches no longer are one-on relations. Initially, maybe that was one big factor. So I think initially there were also factors like how much experience that person has serving that domain or that kind of category of clients, etc. So how big a piece of the conversation is revenue that in that deciding factor? Who is getting the maximum ROI? How big a piece of the conversation is that?
I'm when you say revenue, the client's revenue.
Yes, of course,
Okay,
ROI
so the
for them.
ROI, see, look at it this way. We call it media investment.
Right.
The minute you call it media investment, let me give you a counter to that. If you had $100, and I'm sure this crowd, most of you will be investing in something, maybe a fixed deposit or a mutual fund or stock. Can I just see show of hands so that I know all of you invest in something? Whatever product. Okay. Hi, Mona. So, lot of hands. Hey, hi, Avinash. So, lot of hands. You are investing in something. Do you expect some returns?
Absolutely.
You answered it. So, in your own hard-earned money, you are expecting some returns. What is the mistake of the client asking for a ROI?
Right.
Now it is difficult, right? So some money there. If I put an entrepreneur puts say 100 crores of rupees taking a loan or whatever, he will expect or she will expect that has to deliver more. So that is what becomes primary, the core of many of the conversations today. The conversations 15, 20 years back was, I need a good campaign, I need a
Yeah.
good idea. It is still
Right.
important. But if you can tell me with a high, and we also know, now the tricky part, let me tell you, unlike other sciences, marketing is part science and part art. It's not exact science, but there is an entire branch called marketing science, but it's still a bit of art. So how do you balance something which is not that clearly defined, whether it's a science or an art? My short answer is it is tilting heavily towards science, and the art part, which was the earlier decades, have come down drastically.
Right.
And therefore, the right brain kind of people in the previous decades are important, but the left brain people are sitting in the boardrooms. That's the reality of today.
Right.
So if you cannot go and demonstrate that, and clients are not saying, okay, give me, it's not about giving a mathematical equation. If you can, good for you. But the ability to say, if I don't do this or do this, because there are so many choices. And that is the big shift. Whether you are spending a crore of rupees on your marketing or you're whether spending 1,000 crores, the question is the same.
Right.
So people have to start thinking, if I am the owner of this business, the first question, and you will be surprised, I think I've said it in some other forums, as a media agency, the first question when I get a brief, we ask is, why are you advertising? I know my revenue is dependent on it, but in certain categories, the answer may not even be advertising. Maybe the product needs to be done something before you can even come there. And that brutal honesty is what you have to give to the client. The minute you give it, they will understand that you understand the business, and there's a very high chance that you will get the business.
Right. And Karthik, just taking an example of your agency now handles most of the leading auto brands in the country, right? And so I understand there is a mix of brands. Some brands might be launching new cars, some might want to promote the old cars that they already have. So there is a demand for both precision and scale, right? As a planner, buyer, what do you think is the right balance, or what is the suggestion that you give to your clients when you're planning their spends?
Uh, Precision versus scale. Do you mean precision as in talking to a smaller set of people in a large?
Targeting, maybe like looking at Gen Z for a particular segment of product that I'm offering.
Okay. Now this is with the advent of digital. There are two, three ways of thinking about it. The first question, and I'm going to again ask, I always believe in first principles. Because if you understand first principles, you can do many things. First question is, how does advertising work, or how does marketing work? It works by nudging consumers and putting the brand in the right environment. And you are able to also build your, let's assume it's a physical brand, and you're able to build your physical availability. And also, all the advertising also helps you build mental availability. This is not something I am proposing. This is being written by the likes of Byron Sharp and many such gurus. If that were to happen, advertising, by the fact that it is nudging and giving consumers a chance, the minute it's chance, it works on probability. That means here, if I have to sell a product, and let me take a simple example, I have to sell this water bottle to you. I don't know who from this group will buy. So, if there are more people waiting outside, I will say call them also in. Let's go one by one, and hope somebody will buy. What am I doing? I'm doing probability. And it's a simple product. Everybody needs water. And let's say it's just $5 for simplicity's sake. And I'm hoping most people will have $5. But it's not a guarantee that they will buy from me. And therefore, advertising, if that is going to work on that one, in many categories, if you do too much precision is important, but if you do too much precision and say, oh, I can, because digital and other channels can do, you are going to, today I have a digital tool which says I divide this room into half. Here I can actually be very precise. I can see literally everyone, but I don't know all of them by name, but I can see there are some men, there are some women. But if I exclude one group, my chance of selling this water bottle goes down.
Right.
I hope, so if you do super precision, so you should be broad enough. And maybe here I will say I have only 10 minutes to sell this. I can't cover everyone. So I'm excluding not because they are not important. I only have 10 minutes.
Right. Absolutely.
And so the precision vis-a-vis scale. Scale is always needed if you want to grow. If you don't have scale, unless you are a super premium product, even there when you are, the scale is always relative, right? If I'm selling, say, a premium, a 1 crore rupee car, since you took an auto example, I still have to sell X number of units.
Absolutely.
The factories have to run. So, narrowing it down too much because we can target will be actually be counterproductive. And so we say that you're typically most of our suggestions are don't make it too narrow just because I can do. I can talk only to Tasmay, not the rest. Yes, today digitally it is possible. But if I talk to Tasmay, my probability of you converting is 50-50.
Absolutely.
I just want to increase that probability.
Right. And Karthik, since we have a very heterogeneous crowd here today of sales leaders from across, even media sales leaders, right? And as a planner, buyer, you are dealing with a lot of new emerging platforms as well. So when you're having a conversation with a media seller, how should they position themselves so that they stay ahead of the curve or appear on your priority items when you plan media for a brand?
The media seller's job today is far more difficult than what it was earlier. That's the truth.
Right.
Because they have to meet so many clients, agencies, and what I started off by saying, good old only relationship is not, the relationship will at best guarantee you a meeting. Beyond that, it is a lot of hard work, similar to what the agency and even the client is doing. They need to understand what category, they need to be able to see the full funnel of whatever activities the client is doing, and also see their own products and services, how they will combine it together. Because this is probably a abused word in marketing, which is integration. But true integration, if you understand the meaning, I have 3 different product lines as a media seller. How will it interact? Right. I like the word interaction. So if I'm selling television, I'm selling print, I'm selling radio. So how does it work? What is the role for a particular client becomes that much more important, and not a standardized approach. Because I have this, there's no guarantee. And therefore, equally, they should be able to kind of demonstrate by doing this, the delta movement in the business. It will happen, something will happen to the business is still hope. And that's the tough one for media sellers to, get there. And that is where some of the big giants in digital, they don't say it, they are able to kind of almost predict, if you put so much money, I am almost guaranteeing you so much sales. That level of sophistication, for lack of a better word, is what is needed. Otherwise, I have audiences, of course you have audiences, but why should I advertise?
Right.
I don't know what will happen. There are so many media sellers, so whom should I take? So for example, if you are a media seller and there's somebody else here is a media seller, maybe, and you come and tell me, okay, I put money and me, why should I give it to you? Maybe if I give that money to that other person, sale may happen. So therefore, you have to know the interaction, that other person has to know the interaction. And that's the tough one. Now, how to do that part, that can go into a full day session, I won't, but you have to have a strong data science kind of a practice which will unlock all this. Otherwise, it is not possible. And the big daddies of digital do have that, and that's why they score. It's no secret. So, just as a number for you, we all, and I've still not come to that favorite word of flavor of the season, AI. But artificial intelligence, Google is spending roughly about $100 billion this year. $100 billion. Meta is about 50, 60 billion dollars. Amazon is about 70, 80 billion dollars. Now fight them. Fight. Your starting point is $100 billion. That's the amount of money on R&D.
Right.
So it will require money. We can't be just sitting and hoping that something. Hope will not give in us business. By doing something really meaningful is how we will win business.
Right. And talking about investing more money, etc. So pricing is one important part of the conversation, and price negotiations are tougher than ever. Right. So what is your comment on the pricing dynamics in the industry, whether it is with clients or it is with the media partners that you're working with?
The unfortunate truth of a business is when every decision after pitch, I'm taking pitch as a special case situation,
Absolutely. Yes.
will boil down to pricing.
Right.
Whether we like it or we don't like it.
Yes.
The reason pricing is an efficiency metric, what actually the client wants is effectiveness. So let's say a client has 100 crores of budget. He goes to an agency, they're able to give him an efficiency of 10%. So instead of 100, the client now has to spend 90 crores. Now, that is the efficiency story. But the effectiveness story is actually the budget the client set of 100 itself was wrong, and I'm able to do data modeling or whatever other study and able to prove that it is only 70 crores which is needed. If that was the starting point and I give zero discount, I've saved 30 crores here, I've saved 10 crores here. What we call in layman terms, this is planning saving, this is buying saving. Because buying is far more easier to do, and I'll go and say, okay, give it to me lesser, and this is far more tougher to do. How do I prove this value? How is it 70? How do I build that relationship?
Right.
Many people stay away from this, and therefore this all conversation becomes this. How much more lesser? And many of this, that's one part. The second part is, I don't want to blame procurement, but given the short-termism that we are all living in, many of the challenges from the CEO have been put to the procurement teams. Some are sophisticated, most are not. So they look at if procurement of auto or any other category will be looking at media, the same value they're buying other products for their own company. And without knowing, so obviously the simple answer is the lower the better. So you can see 3-4 different rates, somebody is lower. But there are clients where there is sophistication. They understand that it's not only about getting the lower rates or lower cost. What if your budget itself was wrong?
Right. And moving to the people part of the conversation, initially, there were specialists in print, then there was separate for broadcast, digital. Now it's not a role like that. It has evolved beyond that. So do you see any upskilling gaps, or do you have any tips to make up for that gap that might be existing in the business?
Yeah, I think the agency side and client side, and as a result, media owner side, we have all done disservice to each other. As more specializations came in, we started saying, oh, this guy can only do TV, this guy can only do print, this guy can only do whatever. That's a sad part. And as I started the conversation by saying clients now want one, they don't want so many agencies and so many partners. They want one person who can tell that story. So the good news and the bad news. The good news is integration, full integration is coming back. Skills are far limited. Therefore, broad understanding of brands, broad understanding of marketing, broad understanding of business whoever is able to do that. So broad understanding of brands, how you do is either you work in a marketing organization, you go do sales visit, you understand, that's one way to do, or you work in a research company for a short period of time, you can do that. Of course, the even shorter way is start educating and reading some of the best in class works which is available. Start reading some good books, and that upskilling will happen. And it's going to be constant. It is not okay, I read 3 books and I now next 5 years. No. Every year you will have to change. Now I spoke that golden word AI. It's a constant learning and constant doing. It is not about just a theoretical framework, it is a practical framework, what will work, what will not work. So upskilling is going to be a long-term plan for every organization, whoever does it. Like in our company, we do certification on a continuous basis. There are 2 types of learning we give. One is leadership learning and one is skill-based learning. Both are equally important. For senior leaders, it's not so much about which tool or whatever, but developing other leaders,
Right.
empathetic listening, feedback to others. These are all important skills. Complex problem solving. So we run a fantastic program with Harvard across the globe. It's a 5-6 day program. So big case studies, complex real life case studies. How do you solve it? That's for senior leaders. But for mid to junior level people, it's all about skill. If there is a new platform come, do I know what are the nuances of that? And going back to basics, I spoke of first principle. I'm probably very old school. If you don't get your first principles correct, you cannot do anything.
Right. And I know, Karthik, we're running really short of time, so I'll just ask one wrap question is, there are a lot of emerging media platforms as well. So if a sales leader from an emerging platform wants to win over the trust of a large global network agency such as yours, what are the tips that you have to give them?
Couple of tips is spend time understanding the brand, uh, and I would say some tips or hacks. If it's a listed company, start reading their annual reports. I know it is not the most desired thing, it is a lot of numbers. In the annual report, read the CEO's report. Forget the numbers. Because it's some big companies, it will be very daunting, 500 pages, I understand it. Today there are a lot of online free tools available to even read screeners and actually screen and say, read financial analyst report. The hidden things are actually in plain sight, which is all inside the financial statement. Why is the company in one quarter sales went up and one quarter came down? What is the industry going through? And today, please use some of the modern tools like generative AI tools, whichever tool you want to pick up, you pick up. You get beautiful summaries of those companies. The challenge is going to be companies which are not listed or a startup. There you will have to do the good old, digging, talking to consumers. Talk to consumers, real consumers. In our company, it is mandatory for my team to go and do 2 kinds of either a visit with the client or do mystery shopping. Many of you will know mystery shopping. If I were the clients, actually what is happening in the shop. It could be if it's FMCG, go to a pharmacist and say, and this is ingrained in this. ये माल कौन सा माल बिकता है शैम्पू अभी कौन सा है in your area he will tell you something अच्छा and then observe. Nothing can replace these things. These are very old school ways of doing it, but the knowledge that you will get, because sitting in a AC room you will be told a lot of things, but the ground reality is going to be something else.
Right.
I think that is very important, and then understanding the complexity of integrated case studies. So again, I'm a great believer, invest in yourself, read some of the FE case studies, both global in India. There are books available. They are absolute gems. The short answer is, बिना मेहनत किए नहीं कुछ नहीं मिलेगा. There is no other shortcut. A one-day program will not solve your problems. So it is a lifelong, it will take time. Again, I'm not a believer in quick fix. एक दिन में कुछ होता तो everybody would have done it, right? They are all smart people here. It is a lot of work. You have to put that time, energy, invest, read, absorb, talk to people, financial analysts, sometimes new people. we keep talking about Gen Z. What do they think about the brand?
Right.
And I'm not necessarily saying go and do a survey. It is not a practical thing. Keep on doing survey. But just talking to few people, this is how advertising marketing industry. This is the art part I'm talking about. I've told you enough of science in my previous few minutes. The art part is going and talking to people and understanding what are they, what are you decoding.
Right.
That's how best insights will come.
Right. Thank you so much, Karthik, for the conversation. Always an interesting chat with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.